All right, Leo, so this week from Lay Vampire, you pulled Redemption, Absolution, Forgiveness, and Penance. And then from Chakra Wisdom, you pulled Acceptance. Now, what I worry about here is the need to accept that, sometimes we screw up, right? Especially with redemption showing up. Now, redemption, the blessing says being able to be sorry, to say sorry, and to take responsibility will lift any burdens you may be carrying from your shoulders. And then working with this card says it is time to be open about your remorse and to let what has been secret to be said. So, for some of you, maybe feeling sorry about something here, but then, I don't know. I just worry a little bit with acceptance showing up. So now, the very first quote for this card says, when I accept myself, I find love. Now, the inspiration says that this card invites you to see yourself as complete, just as you are. Now, the personal question says, am I assessing myself accurately, or am I distorting my reality in a self-defeating way? Can I simply accept myself? And then the key ideas are new ways of seeing yourself, embracing imperfection, feeling incomplete, and selling yourself short. We all make mistakes. It happens. But, if you start feeling bad about yourself because you weren't perfect in some way, that would explain why acceptance is being there. But I would be careful with that kind of energy. All right. Oh my God, Leo, what the hell? The Tower. So, oh my goodness. I still feel like for a lot of you, this isn't a shock. Like, this isn't some shocking event that needs to happen to change things in your life. I think it's you still going through the purging. This has been persistent here for a while, but again, with the Tower being the overall, it's just basically saying that, you're getting rid of some things. I worry, though, that some of you may feel like you're still stuck as far as moving forward. But, again, the Knight of Wands popping out, though, is a good thing to see, especially with this being the overall energy here. Yeah. Now, the past, the Ace of Pentacles. I worry about that with the Tower being the overall. Now, when you're looking at the Ace of Pentacles as the past coming through, you're talking about a new practical, realistic beginning. But for some reason, the only way to get that or to continue that type of energy is to do some major clearing away. Like I said, the purging process here with the Tower. Now, in the present, which is perfect, the Star. So, the only way for you to get to that point of healing and to have that hope and that emotional balance is to just kind of go with the flow of things, regardless of, all the things that are being purged out. But, looking at the Star next to it is good, especially with the Ace of Pentacles being there. It's still there, which is good to see. And there you are. This is why I feel like this isn't some shocking event to you. Now, with Strength being in future conditions, aside from you, right, which I think this is a beautiful Strength card, especially for Leo. Again, needing to pull on your inner strength, right, that inner reserve when moving forward, and obviously with the Tower being there. But again, it's still good to see the Star, despite the fact that the Tower is there. Especially with Strength being there. Your best path to follow. So I'm going to tell you right now, looking at the King of Swords is the best path to follow. One, you have to be careful about, the way that you act. I always say this when the King of Swords shows up. You have to be careful because you can, easily teeter on being extremely brutal, especially if you're dealing with people in situations that continuously cause problems, which would explain the continuous purging process here. But when you're looking at the King of Swords, the other part of this too is thinking logically, needing to think logically about what is happening here and clearly communicating what you need to, Now, for some of you, you have Aquarius and you have Leo here. I don't know. I just looked at the Star and I thought about Aquarius, but then you also have you. Now, for some of you, this could literally mean needing to get legal advice, though, too. Which, is another thing that I see when the King of Swords shows up. But more so than anything else, it's about thinking logically, And in your environment, you have the King of Pentacles. Now, And it's funny because I'm looking at how he's connected here with the Ace of Pentacles. For some of you, I do feel like this is an outside person. And I kind of felt like that a little bit too here with the King of Swords. But, in terms of the advice, again, it's about thinking logically. Now, as far as the King of Pentacles being in your environment, you're either talking about the person that you're trying to purge out so that you can do some healing, or you're talking about somebody who's very dependable that may be helping you through this process and helping you to find your inner strength. Because I don't see the King of Pentacles as a bad guy, male or female, being a general reading. This could be somebody who is very dependable, very giving, and very understanding, who may be bringing on this healing process, right? And whatever it is that you're needing to purge from your system, like, it needs to be done with, man. Like, seriously, I'm tired of seeing the Tower show up every time I do a Leo reading. It bothers the crap out of me. But, unfortunately, for some people, it's not an easy process to go through, But it's the clearing away. And again, with the Star being there, it's not bad. Now, your hopes and your fears, and this makes sense to me. With the Ten of Staves or the Ten of Wands being here, it's just a fear of feeling the weight of everything, and feeling like everything is an uphill battle, worried about all the work that you're going to have to do, the details that are involved, things like that. But it is feeling overwhelmed by the process, But, it's understandable. But at the same time, regardless, with the Star being there, whether or not you're dealing with an Aquarius, and whether or not you're having to get legal advice, I still feel like, there's possibly, because of the Ace of Pentacles as a past coming through, you're looking at somebody that's offering, a new beginning for you, right? Somebody that's dependable. I feel like this is somebody that you can rely on, despite how overwhelming things may be. Especially for some of you, if you're like literally having to pick up and move, with the Tower. Oh, wow. Future conditions, the High Priestess. All right, I got to clarify here. And then the Eight of Swords, and that worries me a little bit. Okay, so, can you continue to, manifest the things that you want without having all, available information? It's funny because it almost has like a Knight of Swords type of feel with the High Priestess. But when you're looking at the Magician, right, what I worry about is the manipulation of a situation, only because of the Tower being there and this feeling of being overwhelmed by details and possibly for some of you needing legal advice. But I'm not seeing justice or judgment. But now besides that, can you still manifest what you're wanting here and move forward with passion despite what you don't know? Or is it going to trap you? Looking at the Eight of Swords, it's the mental trap. It's the fear. It's the fear of moving forward, which is leaving you left standing in the rubble. Do you have to have an outcome on a situation before you can move forward? I mean, your new beginning is there. Oh, Leo, I do still feel good, though, about, this King of Pentacles being here. This doesn't have to be a romantic relationship or anything like that. This could just be somebody coming through with some really practical advice on where, you need to start moving forward. I think that this is somebody separate, other than what you're dealing with here with the Tower. And that's mainly because of the Star being connected with that. I can't, bypass that. I'm not feeling like that's hopelessness. Not at all. Not with what I'm seeing here. Despite the fact that you have the Tower, forget about everything else. You still have a new beginning coming through. There is hope and healing, but there is a need for you to pull on your inner strength. Because there may be things that you don't know looking at the High Priestess, And maybe now is not the time to take immediate action. Maybe you do need advice first before you start to move forward. Eventually there's going to be an opportunity for you to move forward and not worry about, what's going to happen next and then after that. But you're still blocked mentally. It's still being trapped, scared of moving forward with your passion. What is it that you're really wanting, right? All right, guys, we're going to take a look at the soul trees to see what other messages there are for you guys. But seriously, like, seriously, with the tower, right? And what's funny is that with the high priestess, right, your intuition, psychic knowing, you know psychically what you need to do. And then celebration, which is good to see. So despite the fact that you are looking at, the mental trap here with the Eight of Swords, it's like you know what you need to do to get to this point where you get to actually celebrate your life and the things that you've done, but it's only after healing. You understand what it is that you need to do. And all of it is centered around needing to do healing. Like, I'm looking at the both of them like, yes, damn it, no more tower. And hopefully for some of you, you'll get to the point here where there will be some celebration out of, this purging process that's like continuously happening, but you ultimately are going to have to make the decision here, to be done with it. And that may be where, you're needing to pull on your own energy here with this strength. All right, guys, we're going to take a look at the romance angels to see what messages there are for you guys in terms of relationships. And then finances and career, financial issues are a factor in your love life right now. So for some of you, if you're looking at a happy relationship, and this is something completely different, you're looking at good chemistry, but the career and the finances are going to play a part in what happens, right? It may be getting in the way. Now, on the other hand, if you're dealing with difficulties within a relationship that you're still looking to move forward on, that's saying that there's still, a strong attraction, but, somebody is dealing with issues as far as finances and career, and it may be blocking the potential for a relationship, which would explain why the Eight of Swords is coming out. But besides that, ultimately, right, like you know what you need to do to start creating the healing that you need. You're going to have to pull on your inner strength. You're going to have to pay attention to your intuition and your psychic knowing, because you know what you need to do. And when you're able to finally get to that point, though, I do like seeing celebration come out. I just worry about, how much fear is gripping you as far as moving forward. How willing are you to continue to stay stuck with a situation? It's one thing to think about what you're going to do, but then it's another thing entirely to actually do it.